demos every week of Clydach in acrylic, Swansea Valley, where I was born, brought up, and there's still many views to come. Combe Clydach and beautiful parts of Clydach. But having said that, just for this week, Dave Jones, who films and edits, puts it on YouTube, has asked if I could give some introductory sessions to watercolour. So I'll put them in tandem. I'll do them alongside each other. And a lady from Maureen rang me up a few nights ago. Never met her. Wanted some basic tips on painting. So that I'll give some basic tips now on painting with watercolour. If you don't know anything at all, then we'll just go through it very simply. First of all, paper. You've got to have the right paper. It's got to be watercolour paper. And it's got to be thick enough that when you put water on, it doesn't cockle. So I use Bockingford, and I've used that for about 20 odd years or so. Bockingford, good hardy paper, you can use both sides, and you can go into somewhere like the range and you'll get it in a pad with about 12 sheets or so, or you can online, you can order it in big sheets and cut it up to what size you want. So paper, and always work smaller than what you think. I'll give you some idea now. These are some paintings that are only 6 by 8 inches. That's all, 6 by 8. Because the smaller it is, then the more time you've got before things start drying, and you can experiment more if they're smaller. And always with your paper, have it a size that you know you've got a mount to go on it straight away, but it can be framed easily. Nothing worse than doing a painting. Now, how do I get it framed? And you want to do it in a way that's inexpensive and easy. So I've got paintings that are 6 by 8. They're in an 8 inch by 10 inch mount, not very big. And you can get them in somewhere like the range. And so let me go through some of these paintings with you. Now that is, that's 6 by 8. So you haven't got to go large at all. And I'm just going through these quickly just so you can have some idea. You don't need to paint large paintings, but it's surprising how effective some small paper mixture just dug out of everywhere. That's so up in the, this is a acrylic one actually, this is up in the Lliw Reservoir, the upper Lliw. So that's Talachin. Again, you're going to go. That's North Wales, there we are, Crib Goch, that's Crib Goch. So here's now a frame, you can get for about £2. That's a frame for that size painting. That's, of course, the Norwegian Church in Cardiff Bay. But, so paper, Bockingford, get it in sheets, cut it up small. So that's the paper. Then when it comes to brushes, you've got to have the right watercolour brushes, and they will last and last. An inexpensive way to get brushes, if you're going online, is the Chinese brush. It's one of my Chinese brushes. Just holds a lot of water, will come to a fine point. That's another Chinese brush there. And I've got another one here in bamboo holders. And you can get them online, and they are invaluable for watercolour. But having said that, you can go to an art shop and get synthetic brushes. That's a synthetic one. But it's got a soft edge, yes, that's the main thing. And then a rigger brush is all important. It goes to a fine point, it's long and thin. When they used to do the rigging on ships years ago, they'd use a brush like that. On the old-fashioned ships too, to get a fine point. So those are the brushes. Now paints. I have a palette. Now you can get any old palette, it can be empty. And that's what I do, I get an empty palette and then I squeeze paint in. To the holders. You can get a palette from a £2 basic palette, and I use Cotman's paints. There we are, some Cotman. Then come in tubes like that, and the colours I use are cadmium yellow, and then raw sienna, and then I use cadmium red. I use a light red, like a brownish red, and then I use a brown, like what's called burnt umber, and that's burnt umber, and then ultramarine, and those are my colours basically. I seldom use much other than that really, but no, it's indispensable and it is an absolute must if you're painting a watercolour, is gouache. It's white, but whatever you do, don't get the zinc white. Don't get that. It hasn't got the covering power. It's what's called permanent white, or intense white, permanent white. Gouache. And what you can do, you can mix that with the watercolour, which I'll show you when I do the demos, and you can get light colours on top of dark. So, yeah, so I use a hairdryer, so I can dry it and go on. I haven't got to wait, you can dry apart. And but that's basically all the material you have to think about, really, with watercolour. Now, in terms of angle, I should explain, I have a little bit of a board, a small board, and I put the paper and I tape it with masking tape on the corners. That's all, just on the corners to hold it on. And then have it at a little bit of a gradient. Put a book, a thick book at the back of it, and that's enough of a gradient, really, just so the water's all coming the one way. And in terms of watercolour, that's all you need to know. You don't need to know any more than that. And so in the next session, it won't be now this week, perhaps next week, the next session, I'll show you a quick demo of how to do different skies in watercolour. So that will be a bit of help.